Ghana prepares to go to the polls. Could President John Mahama win a third term? A top Lord's Resistance Army commander goes on trial at The Hague. And gaming technology grows up. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Vincent Makori. This is Africa 54 and we begin in West Africa. Ghana's voters go to the polls on Wednesday, that is December the 7th. The West African nation is heading into presidential and parliamentary elections amid high inflation rates, rising public debt and frequent power cuts that have gone on now for about 3 years. It has been the reversal for a country that in 2010 was declared one of the world's fastest growing economies. Among a handful of candidates, the standouts are President John Dramani Mahama and Nana Akufo-Addo. Now, Akufo-Addo is a former Attorney General and Foreign Minister who has twice tried to unseat Mr. Mahama. In addition, voters will choose 275 members of parliament. Doctors working in Kenyan state hospitals went on strike on Monday to demand fulfillment of a 2013 agreement between their union and the government that would raise their pay and improve working conditions. Police fired tear gas to disperse hundreds of members of the Kenyan Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union who had marched to the Health Ministry headquarters in the capital. Comprising about 5,000 members, the union says the 2013 bargaining agreement was to give them a 300% pay raise, review their working conditions and job structures and criteria for promotions, as well as address understaffing of medical professionals in state hospitals. Samuel Oroko, the union's national chairman, said they had given the government enough time to honor the deal. While staying in Kenya, about 45% of women between the ages of 15 and 45 have experienced physical or sexual violence. Now, a campaign hopes to stem the tide on gender-based violence. Lenny Rovaga reports from Nairobi.
35-year-old Diana Kamande listens intently to presentations on sexual and gender-based violence. A widow and a mother of two, it took 3 successive reconstructive surgeries and therapy for her and her children to survive years of domestic violence. For Kamande, those undergoing violence of any kind ought to speak out.
When it happened to me, I asked myself, how many women go through what I've been through silently? And I said, I will not keep quiet. I just purposed in my heart when I was in the hospital. My family members didn't want me to speak about it. My mother, my father, and my sisters, they were telling me to keep quiet. I'm going to shame the family. But I said, I'm going to break those cords and I'll speak out because I believed if I speak, I would have helped a woman or a man or a baby who is going through gender-based violence somewhere.
According to data from Kenya Health Demographic Survey, about 45% of women between the ages of 15 and 45 have experienced some form of physical or sexual violence. The international humanitarian group Doctors Without Borders, MSF, launched the campaign Don't Excuse Abuse with the aim of putting a stop to sexual and gender-based violence. A photo exhibition on display captured the horrors of sexual and gender-based violence. Dr. Cecilia Gaki, the medical activities manager at MSF, spoke to VOA on the significance of the campaign.
It increases awareness, that's to the Kenyans, what is sexual and gender-based violence. And it also helps them to know if it happens, what is to be done, what services are available, and then it also helps to create linkages with the actors on what needs to be done, what is being done.
A 2015 report by the National Crime and Research Center noted a 49% increase in gender violence against men. Philip Otieno from Men for Gender Equality Now, MEGEN, spoke to VOA at the sidelines of the campaign launch. Otieno says that cultural aspects deter men from reporting abuse.
The society expects a man to be strong. The society expects a man to be somebody who can take it all. Even if you are violated, you just don't need to go shout there and tell everybody else. And therefore we are saying that men need to come out more and talk about these things because they are also survivors and victims of sexual and gender-based violence. And until the society creates a platform where they can talk, then we are going to see men still dying in silence rather than coming out to talk about this so that we can mitigate against violence that is meted towards men.
Kenya has enacted laws and policies that seek to stop sexual and gender-based violence. The Sexual Offences Amendment Bill 2016 is before the National Assembly for debate, and if passed, perpetrators will receive harsher penalties. Lenny Ruvaga for VOA News, Nairobi, Kenya.
Ugandan Dominic Ongwen, a top lieutenant of Lord's Resistance Army's leader Joseph Kony, goes on trial in The Hague on Tuesday. He is accused of war crimes ranging from child kidnapping and forced marriage to rape and murder during the rebel group's long rampage in northern Uganda. Now, the trial of Dominic Ongwen opens at the International Criminal Court faces the greatest crisis in its 15-year history, with several member states quitting over claims it unfairly singles out Africans for prosecution. Ongwen was himself a victim of the LRA's child kidnapping campaign in 1988. Ongwen faces 70 counts of war crimes and crimes against humanity for attacks on refugee camps in northern Uganda between 2002 and 2005, including committing or directing acts of rape, sexual enslavement, and of conscripting child soldiers. Well, the lawyer representing the family of Abdul Razak Al-Artan, the Somali man who wounded 11 people at Ohio State University last week, says U.S. President-elect Donald Trump's Twitter response to the attack shocked the family and kept them silent and mystified. In the tweet last Wednesday, Trump said ISIS is taking credit for the terrible stabbing attack at Ohio State University by a Somali refugee who should not have been in our country. And of course, in an exclusive interview with VOA, the family attorney Robert Fitrakis says the family is still in a tremendous shock.
They're afraid, right? They're, to some extent, a couple of them were very pleased that, they expected to be attacked when they went, when they go to school or in their community. There's great fear out there, with the statements of President-elect Trump. There's tremendous fear, and to some extent, I'm not sure they want their face on camera. Me, I don't care. I believe in American values. I don't believe in corruption of the blood and guilt by association. And these people did nothing. They're innocent, and they're far more shocked and traumatized than most of us, except perhaps the victims, who they have tremendous sympathy for. And they really want an answer.
Well, Atun's family, who fled from Somalia's chronic violence and poverty, lived in Pakistan for 2 years and came to the United States in 2014 through a refugee program. Many Muslims have expressed fear and uncertainty following Trump's election campaign statement promising a complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States. Well, a new United Nations report says a lack of education for girls in the developing world may be contributing to a rise in global poverty. The UN's 2016 State of the World Population Report focuses on the well-being of 10-year-old girls as indicators of development success or failure. It says most of the world's 10-year-old children, live in developing countries where girls face obstacles to good education, healthcare, and safety. Sladid Zahok has more.
Students from the Princess Aliyah School for Girls in Amman sang about gender equality at a news conference for the release of the 2016 State of the World Population Report by the United Nations Population Fund. The report says 89% of the world's 125 million 10-year-olds live in developing countries. It says 35 million 10-year-old girls live in countries considered to be very unequal in terms of gender.
In some parts of the world, a 10-year-old girl looks forward to her horizons opening up so she can achieve her goals. Elsewhere, however, she is up against closed doors. Her prospects are limited while her future is determined by others or by her harsh environment, including factors threatening her safety and socioeconomic promise.
10-year-old girls in many impoverished countries are not far from being married off. More than 60 million are not in school. They do twice as many chores as boys their age, and they serve as unpaid labor more than the boys do. Every 10 minutes, an adolescent girl dies of violence, and many of them are infected with the HIV virus as a result of rape. Suicide is the second leading cause of death for young girls.
Let us remember that we are all responsible. Let us remember that our every word and deed, positive or negative, can affect the road a girl travels from this crossroads in her life. This is what will shape her role in society, which is to say our society and our world.
The UN report says that investment in the health, education, and empowerment of 10-year-old girls can triple a girl's lifetime income.
Failing to invest in girls is nothing less than planned poverty. Unless we invest in girls, we're planning to have a poorer future. And this, I think, is a theme that cannot be emphasized too much.
The report concludes that undermining girls is harmful not only to their communities, but to humanity as a whole. Slarica Hoke, VOA News, Washington.
U.S. President-elect Donald Trump has chosen former neurosurgeon and rival for the Republican Party nomination, Ben Carson, as his nominee to lead the Department of Housing and Urban Development. A statement Monday from the Trump Transition Office says Carson is passionate about strengthening communities and families within those communities. And the two men have discussed Trump's message of economic revival very much, including our inner cities. Carson dropped out of the race in March for the Republican Party nomination and threw his support behind Trump. Trump is expected to nominate his choice for Secretary of State soon. Last week, his transition team mentioned four men as top contenders: Senator Bob Corker, former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani, retired Army General and former CIA Director David Petraeus, and 2012 presidential candidate Mitt Romney. Well, Washington is watching the latest signals from Donald Trump as to whether the president-elect intends to reposition America's diplomatic posture in Asia. VOA's Michael Bowman reports Trump surprised many at home and abroad Friday by announcing he had spoken with the president Tsai Ing-wen of Taiwan, with which the United States has had formal diplomatic ties since 1979, has had no formal diplomatic ties since 1979.
President-elect Trump's tweet announcing a telephone conversation with President Tsai stoked questions as to whether he intends to alter America's longstanding acknowledgement of Beijing's One China policy that precludes any official recognition of Taiwan. Trump's team says the controversy is overblown.
This was a courtesy call. It's a little mystifying to me that President Obama can reach out to a murdering dictator in Cuba in the last year and be hailed as a hero for doing it. And President-elect Donald Trump takes a courtesy call from a democratically elected leader in Taiwan, and it's become something of a controversy.
But Pence did not dispute that Trump intends a more assertive U.S. posture towards China on trade and other matters.
He's going to fight for American jobs, and we're going to stop losing to China and other countries.
Trump was blunt about China during the campaign.
We have a $500 billion deficit, trade deficit with China. We can't continue to allow China to rape our country, and that's what they're doing. It's the greatest theft in the history of the world.
So far, a restrained response from China to the Trump-Tsai telephone call.
It was just a stunt by Taiwan. It will not change the international bedrock of the One China policy. It will not change the One China policy that the United States has adhered to for years.
Despite no formal ties, the United States and Taiwan have cooperated on military matters for decades. Whether Trump intends to expand the boundaries of that relationship as part of his promise to get tougher with China likely will remain a mystery until he assumes office next month. Michael Bowman, VOA News, Washington.
President-elect Donald Trump has issued a warning to U.S. companies planning to move operations overseas. Don't do it. His words follow a Trump visit to an Indiana factory that was promised government incentives to keep jobs from going to Mexico. To cover this story, VOA sent out two reporters, one to Santa Catarina, Mexico, and one to Indianapolis, Indiana. VOA's Caroline Presutti shows us what it's like for workers in both cities. We begin in Indianapolis.
Companies are not going to leave the United States anymore without consequences.
That's Donald Trump holding true to his campaign promise. At this stop, announcing tax breaks will keep 800 Carrier Corporation jobs from moving to Mexico. But the deal with this heating and air conditioning firm is just a first glimpse into Trump's plans. On Sunday, he sent a series of tweets threatening a 35% tariff on items made in offshore U.S. companies. In this exclusive VOA interview, the mayor of Santa Catarina, Mexico, invited Donald Trump to visit.
We invite him to get to know our people, the quality of our government, our infrastructure, and the foreign capital we have.
So far, there's been no response to the invite from the Trump team. Carrier's Mexico plant is located in a busy industrial city. The mayor says if one company shuts down, another steps in. People in the town praised Carrier's employee benefits, but requested we disguise their identity because they're forbidden to speak to the media.
Transportation, dining hall, scholarships, they help with your education. It's one of the best paying companies here.
Here in Indianapolis, Carrier isn't your typical American company. Inside the plant are whole families and generations of workers.
Me, myself, my mother, and I have a younger brother. I also have an uncle.
5 Cornett family members work at Carrier. Will was an early Trump supporter. This is his video of an April rally where Trump, an early candidate for president, called on him.
When they fire my 2 friends over there, raise your hand again.
Cornett says for now, his job will stay in Indianapolis.
He called us his good friend, and that's what friends do. They come through.
But for the 500 others, plus 700 losing their jobs at another Carrier plant, finding similar work in Indianapolis will be tough. Here, they make an average of $23 an hour.
We can compete on every level, but it's hard to compete with $3 an hour wages are paid to the folks in Mexico.
As for Trump, Union President Jones says it's about time someone spoke up for keeping American jobs in this country, but at what cost to taxpayers? In this first move of the Trump pre-administration, Carrier is getting $7 million in tax breaks for keeping half the jobs here. With Celia Mendoza in Santa Catarina, Mexico, I'm Carolyn Presutti in Indianapolis, Indiana.
Well, I want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we cover. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. And check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Find me on Twitter at VOA Vince Makori. Coming up, how an African megacity became a high-tech destination. Stay with us.
I am Sheka Sali, host and senior editor of VOA's international call-in talk show, Straight Talk Africa.
Today, we'll examine the tobacco industry.
We pretty much touch on anything that you can think of. Politics, health issues, human rights issues, you name it, we talk about it. The issues that we discuss are pertinent to most people on the African continent. A very, very rare and unique opportunity to interact with their leaders.
Tech firms in Nigeria are pushing to get office space in Lagos Yaba district, a university town that has transformed itself into a vibrant technology hub. VOA's Paul Dio has more.
At glance, Yaba is like many other parts of Nigeria's sprawling commercial capital. A canopy of car horns and shouting street vendors, mingling with exhaust fumes. But in between the rundown buildings in this seemingly inauspicious part of Lagos, a city of about 21 million people, tech startups are taking root and creating a buzz that is drawing international venture capitalists and more established digital firms. Online retailer Jumia, dubbed the Amazon of Africa, has set up a shop here, hoping it can propel the continent's rising consumer middle class out of the street markets and onto its websites. Nicholas Martin is the CEO at Jumia.
It's going to take time, it's going to take support, it's going to take a lot of infrastructure work. There is still a lot to be done, but the fundamental potential is here. The market is here, the appetite is here. We start also seeing a very strong flow of repatriates talent coming here and irrigate that hub. So yeah, Lagos is actually very hot there.
Yaba draws on a pool of talent from the nearby University of Lagos and Yaba College of Technology. African tech centers are a recent phenomenon that mix web business concepts borrowed from other parts of the world with startups focused on Africa-specific challenges in creating opportunities in areas such as mobile payments and e-commerce. Yaba also has a growing number of established tech companies that hope the area where rents are relatively cheap might breed success. African Internet Group, backed by German's Rocket Internet, South Africa's mobile phone giant MTN, and Sweden's Milcom, moved 6 of its tech firms, including Hello Foods and Easy Taxi, last year. Gaylam Lebron is managing director, Hello Foods.
Moving to Yaba was then, among other mainland areas, was a good choice because it's a very dynamic environment. All the offices we visited were in Yaba. Dynamic because we knew the ecosystem of ventures, of startups here was pretty thriving. The presence of Unilag as well is important for us because we recruit a lot of people. If you look at my staff behind me, probably 60% of them come from Unilag, so they know the area well. They have a good network of friends there that we recruit or that we hire for ambassadors.
Investors have taken an interest in several Yaba-based startups. Nigeria Hotels booking company Hotels NG got seed funding from EcoVac Pan-African Fund under the Omedia Network. The potential market size of Africa's most populous nation makes Nigeria an attractive location. Google and Microsoft run coding workshops, while a deal between CC Hub and the Lagos state government and other telecoms have brought cheap high-speed internet to the area.
Jumia is by any measurement the biggest e-commerce but also the biggest retailer of the land. And therefore we just need warehouse space.
Nigeria's internet speeds and internet coverage have lagged behind other countries such as Ghana, Kenya, Uganda, and South Africa. But in itself is an opportunity, according to a report released by McKinsey suggesting that only 1.5% of Nigeria's nearly 500 billion economy took place online. Paul Ndiho, VOA News, Washington.
Well, it's time now for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54, augmented reality. It's not just fun and games anymore. We'll be right back.
Hamilton Live is a live audience performance. With live music, you have that interaction. There's nothing like getting that immediate feedback from the folks that you're performing to. They feel it and they respond back to you. You see it in their eyes. You know that you're connecting with them. Like if any form of communication, it's that response that you get back.
Welcome back to Africa 54. Here's what's trending. We'll take you to Europe's leading tech startup event in Finland. This medieval castle looks as though it is floating among the busy booths of the two-day Tech Fest / in Helsinki. This is just one application for augmented reality, transporting digitized images into the real world. It's become a top tech trend since Niantic used it to place Pokemon creatures on streets and parks around the world. But augmented reality isn't just for fun and games. The technology means architects don't have to spend hours painfully constructing scale models. One out of South America, where thousands of pop culture fans flock to the Brazilian city of Sao Paulo to participate in the country's biggest comic and pop arts event. Comic-Con is their moment to meet friends and big stars, see and buy what is new on the comic market, and show off their creativity and skills in recreating their favorite characters. Although the comics and pop culture industry is dominated by huge companies and brands that trade worldwide, some of Brazil's homegrown companies were also represented. Well, and finally, the Russian Defense Ministry has released a video of cadets taking part in a mannequin challenge. In the video, cadets from the military movement Narmiya were joined by Russian pop singers who also participated in the challenge. In case you don't know, the mannequin challenge is a viral internet trend where people remain frozen in action like mannequins while being recorded by moving cameras. So what's the point? Having fun while competing to see who comes up with the most talked about video clip. And that is what is trending today. Well, make room, Washington. The glitz and glamour of Fifth Avenue in New York City is now the hottest political arena in the country. Trump Tower, or White House North, is the president-elect's transition headquarters and home of the incoming First Family. The result is a tourist mecca for the curious, a logistical nightmare for security, and a unique challenge for the press. VOA's Ramon Taylor takes us there.
The Midtown Manhattan neighborhood surrounding Trump Tower is not only a shopping district and haunt for the rich and famous, it's the home of the president-elect's transition headquarters. Inside the main floor lobby, opposite 4 golden elevators, the White House transition press pool, responsible for reporting the ins and outs of key aides and possible cabinet members for the incoming administration, is cordoned off behind a velvet rope and waiting. Press pooler Hunter Walker says the job is a bit like fishing.
We sit here for long stretches where we don't see anybody, but you can't really lose focus because you never know who's going to walk through, and you need to be ready to identify them, jump up, and start throwing questions kind of at a moment's notice. There's no warning.
The marble-clad interior, with its lavish holiday decorations, myriad luxury shops, and dining options, is a hot spot for tourists who hope to capture a piece of the action.
The food's good, the service is wonderful, the building is just gorgeous, and we just like the atmosphere.
The 202-meter luxury high-rise is home to the billionaire businessman turned president-elect, along with notable celebrities like movie star Bruce Willis and Portuguese football star Cristiano Ronaldo, and high-end businesses, including Gucci. Now, during the holiday shopping season, retailers surrounding the tower have expressed financial concerns resulting from the logistical challenges of hosting the president-elect.
Our problem is that the customer flow is severely restricted, and based on discussions I've had with retailers, we're talking about the loss of tens of millions of dollars just for the Christmas season.
The city's mayor insists his priorities are elsewhere.
I will not tell you that Gucci and Tiffany are my central concerns in life, but I will say the traffic situation is a very real problem.
And will likely remain a problem, with Melania Trump and her 10-year-old son Barron expected to stay in Trump Tower through the end of the school year in 2017.
We have committed a substantial number of resources to Trump Tower, a real substantial number, 24 hours a day, around the clock.
The price tag for taxpayers? More than $1 million a day, according to city officials. Objectionable to many, but not all.
We have a president now that spends a lot of time other places in the White House and costing us a lot of money, and this is home for him, and I don't have a problem with that.
As the president-elect takes...
Well, good night.
Welcome to Voice of America's News Words, where we talk about words you hear in the news.
This word is about something that might happen. Listen to hear it 2 times.
Potential.
A potential refugee crisis is brewing amid shortages of fuel and medicine elsewhere in the country. President Obama says the situation could spread more broadly in the Middle East, but continues to limit the scope of potential U.S. involvement.
Potential is a word that means something could happen. There is the possibility that all the pieces are there for it to happen.
The reporter said it is possible that a refugee crisis could develop in Iraq. Now, the next time you hear potential, you will know what this news word means.